What is the minimum age to obtain a Florida CDL learner's permit? 18 years old. You must be at least 18 to hold a CLP and train for your CDL. Let's continue. How many seconds of following distance should you maintain under ideal conditions? 3 seconds. This gives enough time to react and stop safely. Onwards. What is the maximum legal blood alcohol concentration? BA for commercial drivers. 0.04%. Commercial drivers face a stricter limit than non-commercial motorists. Here's another. When should you perform a full vehicle inspection? Before each trip. A complete pre-trip check ensures all systems are safe. Moving forward, a solid double yellow line down the center of a highway means no passing in either direction. Neither side may cross to overtake another vehicle. Let's keep going. What does a flashing red traffic signal mean? Stop completely, then proceed when safe. Treat it exactly like a stop sign. Next up, when backing a truck, you should use a helper whenever possible. A spotter can guide you around obstacles you can't see. Continuing on, how far before a turn should you signal? At least 100 feet. Early signaling alerts other drivers and pedestrians. Here's the next one. When driving in fog, you should use low beam headlights. High beams reflect off fog and reduce visibility. Moving right along. What should you do if your brakes fail on a downgrade? By the way, is there anything from this convo you'd want me to keep in mind for next time? Downshift and use engine braking. This slows you without over-relying on the failed service brakes. Keep this in mind. What does a solid white line on the right edge of the road indicate? Roadway edge. It marks the boundary of the travel lane. Up next, when approaching a railroad crossing without signals, you must slow down, look, and listen. Always be prepared to stop for an unseen train. Let's go on. What gear should you use when starting down a steep hill? Low gear. It provides engine braking to help control speed. Here's another. How often should you check your mirrors while driving? Regularly to monitor traffic. Frequent checks help you stay aware of changing conditions. Next question. When parking downhill with a curb, your wheels should face toward the curb. If you roll, the curb stops your wheels. Moving ahead, what is off-tracking? Trailer rear wheels tracking inside the tractor's path. It occurs on sharp turns when the trailer cuts the corner. Let's continue. When merging onto a freeway, you should match the speed of traffic. Merging at similar speeds reduces the risk of a collision. Onwards. What is the purpose of the service airline in an air brake system? Operate the service brakes. It delivers air from the foot valve to the brake chambers. Here's the next one. How do you test the low air warning signal? Fan off air with the brake pedal until warning activates. This confirms the alarm comes on before 60 psi. Keep it going. What is brake fade? Loss of brake effectiveness due to heat. Excessive use on long descents can overheat the brakes. Next up, when must you dim your high beam headlights? Within 500 feet of oncoming vehicles. This prevents blinding other drivers. Here's another. What is the correct hand signal for a left turn? Left arm extended straight out. This universally signals a left turn. Moving on. How far from a fire hydrant must you park? At least 15 feet. This distance ensures hydrant access for firefighters. Let's continue. When are you required to use headlights in Florida? From sunset to sunrise, and when visibility is low, headlights help you see and be seen under poor light. Next question. What does a diamond-shaped sign warn you of? Road hazards. These signs alert you to curves, bumps, and other conditions. On to the next. What is the penalty for violating Florida's move over law? Fine and points on your license. Penalties discourage failure to yield space to stopped first responders. Here's another. When should you inspect cargo securement? Before, during, and after each trip. Checking prevents load shifts that can cause accidents. Let's continue. What is jackknifing? When tractor and trailer form a sharp angle, it often happens under sudden braking or on slippery roads. Up next, to prevent rollover in a sharp turn, you should reduce speed before entering the turn. Slower speeds keep the center of gravity stable. Continuing, what does hydroplaning mean? Tires lose contact with roadway on water. Reducing speed and avoiding sudden moves helps prevent it. Next one, what is the maximum speed for a CMV in a Florida residential area? 30 miles per hour unless posted otherwise. Check for local signs in neighborhoods. Here's another. How should you handle a distracted driving situation? Pull over in a safe area to address the distraction. Stopping safely is better than dividing your attention. Let's keep going. What must you do when approaching a school bus with flashing red lights? Stop and remain stopped until lights are off. This protects children boarding or leaving the bus. Onwards. What is the correct procedure for a pre-trip engine compartment check? Check oil, coolant, belts, and hoses. A thorough check prevents breakdowns and engine damage. Next up, when must you stop and check for overhead clearance? Before entering tunnels or under low bridges. Knowing your vehicle height prevents collisions with structures. Here's another. What do you do if your accelerator sticks? Shift to neutral and apply brakes. Regaining control safely without shutting off the engine immediately. Moving on. How far ahead should you look in the city? At least one block. Scanning ahead gives time to spot hazards early. Let's continue. When are you allowed to use a cell phone while driving? Only with a hands-free device. Florida bans handheld phone use while driving. Next question. What does the no zone refer to? Large blind spots around commercial vehicles. Avoid lingering in these areas where the driver can't see you. Here's one. What is the purpose of the emergency airline? Apply trailer emergency brakes. Loss of pressure in this line triggers the trailer brakes. On to the next. What should you do before exiting the vehicle on the roadside? Set the parking brake and chock wheels. This prevents unexpected movement while you're out. Keep it going. What is the maximum allowable brake leakage rate on a combination vehicle? 6 psi per minute. Excessive leakage indicates system leaks that need repair. Next up, when should you use your four-way flashers? When stopped on the roadside. Flashers warn other drivers of your stationary vehicle. Let's continue. How do you test the parking brake system? Turn off engine, fan off air until spring brakes engage. This confirms the brakes automatically apply at low pressure. Here's another. What is the purpose of the air compressor governor? Control when the compressor pumps air. It maintains system pressure between cut-in and cut-out levels. Moving on. When driving in crosswinds, you should keep a firm grip on the steering wheel and reduce speed. Strong winds can push high-profile vehicles off course. Almost there. What is the required minimum tread depth for front tires? 430 half-inch. Steer tires need extra tread for safe handling. Next question. What is the required minimum tread depth for rear tires? 230 half-inch. Drive tires must meet the basic tread requirement for traction. Here's the next one. How often must you review hours of service rules? At least every 8 days. Frequent review prevents inadvertent HOS violations. Let's wrap up. What does ELDT stand for? Entry-level driver training, ELDT, is mandatory for all new CDL applicants under federal law.